So one day, my buddy Rich calls me up in Denton, where I was a music undergraduate at North Texas State University, and tells me that his old high school band director needs a couple of big band charts. He wanted an instrumental version of the George Benson version of This Masquerade, and a vocal chart on the Rita Coolidge version of The Way You Do the Things You Do. While pop tunes were certainly not my specialty, and although I had only done one other vocal chart, I figured that making some bucks would be better than not making some bucks. So I cranked out the charts and sent the scores to Rich, best damn left-handed copyist I ever met, to do the copy work and negotiate the transaction, where he was stationed as a musician with the Air Force Band West, which I will hereafter refer to as AFB West. I didn't hear anything from Rich for a few weeks, but that was okay. Hey, it was 1978 in Denton, Texas. I was in love. I had a job, so beer money was available, and it was still spring, so the weather was nice. Then one day, it was a Monday, I remember because it was my sleep-in day. Late shift at the gas station after opening on Saturday and Sunday, 6 a.m., if you can believe it. I get a phone call. Oh, the phone call was not at 6 a.m. It was more about 8. But that still pissed me off. The house I was living in at the time had one phone. It was a 1920s vintage replica. You know, with the earpiece and you picked up the body of the phone and spoke into it. Not sure who came up with that. And it sat in this little phone nook in the downstairs hallway. My roommates did not seem interested in answering the call, and my girlfriend had already responsibly departed to attend her 8 o'clock class. So I stumbled, literally, down the stairs to answer the phone. This was before answering machines were invented. On the other end was a shrill male voice, speaking with an accent that could only have been acquired in an insane asylum, speaking so quickly that I had trouble following him. Though I did understand enough to acknowledge that I was who I am, so I asked him if he could slow down and repeat his opening barrage. It turned out I had followed him. I just could not believe what he was saying. He more calmly stated that he was Technical Sergeant Joe, calling from AFB West, and that he'd just gotten off the phone with my recruiter and fixed up the problem that was holding up my enlistment processing. WTF? I told him he had the wrong guy, even if he had said my name, and I hung up on him. A little while later, Rich called to fill me in. It turned out that the charts I sent him never made it to that old high school. They made it to the AFB West instead. I don't know exactly what Rich did to get the ball rolling on the Air Force side, though I was fully aware of the wool pulling he had pulled on me. But it was true. All I had to do was go down to the local recruiter, sign a few papers. A few papers means something different to the U.S. Air Force than it does to other people. And I would have a steady gig. Rich then asks how soon I could do it. I don't remember if I actually said, hell no, or he just interpreted my silence, but then he added, man, they will pay you for what you do at NTSU, so what's the problem? I pointed out basic training and an ironclad 4-year contract. We left it at that. A few days later, I was retelling that story to somebody with knowledge of the NTSU lab band designation system. And after I finished up with my hell no, he delivered a kicker and said, how many cats do you know that are playing at the 8 o'clock level that have a steady gig, booked for 4 years? I saw the Air Force recruiter the next day. So, while the audition had not been rigged in the traditional manner, it did get me to do something I probably would never have even seriously considered, let alone do. It began what turned out to be a charmed existence for me for the next 14 years, 5 months, and 22 days. That's TADMST, total active duty military service time. The dumbest thing I ever did was split that gig. Posted by Fred. There was one comment to this post. Chris said, "Told you so." Yeah, that's the voice he would have used when he typed it.